Annie Carr. It's good to see you, but I'm not used to seeing you in front of a microphone.
I'm not used to being in front of a microphone.
How does this feel?
This feels wrong.
So if you're in the newsroom, where you're going to see Annie is all over the newsroom. Annie Carr, our assistant news director here at WBIR. But today she is holed up in our podcast studio to tell us all about herself.
Scary thought.
It's a great thing. Yeah, okay, you're our assistant news director at WBIR. What is that? What do you do? We know what you do, but tell those who are listening.
It's a little bit of everything. It's we always joke there's like a line in our contracts, our paperwork that we sign when we first start. It's other duties as assigned. I think I have a lot of other duties as assigned. But in brief, I kind of guide the editorial conversations most days, and then help us plan ahead for bigger picture stuff down the road. And then I do a lot of recruiting and hiring and helping develop new employees, new people. So you name it, I do it.
And the list goes on. Trust me, folks, the list goes on. It is very long, and you do it, and you do it well. But I want to talk about Annie, the person. We'll get back to Annie, the journalist. But Annie's from East Tennessee, not from Knoxville, though.
No.
Where's home?
No, I did not grow up watching Channel 10. I grew up in the Tri-Cities in Blumpville, which is in Sullivan County. It's very near Bristol Motor Speedway. Told somebody the other day, we used to listen to the race from our house. We could hear the racetrack.
And probably feel it too, right? The reverberation.
Yeah, we watched the fireworks. We loved it when it was race weekend. But yeah, so Tri-Cities, born and bred.
Yeah, then made your way to UT.
Yep.
And have
never really left.
Stayed here. You have been a fixture at WBIR for a long time. Yes, now as assistant news director. But let's talk about your journey through WBIR.
Yeah, I started during college, my sophomore year of college, or junior year of college, as an editor. I was a part-time editor. I worked like nights and weekends, maybe 3 or 4 days a week for about a year and a half, 2 years. Loved that. It really introduced me to what it's like to be in a newsroom. Before I started working here, I really thought, oh, I'll do college. I'll have this part-time job. Paid, at the time it paid $11 an hour, so I thought I was totally rich.
Oh,
that was a great job in college.
And then the bills come in.
Yeah, now. But I was like, I'll just do this for a couple of years. I'll graduate. I'll go off to New York. I'll work at a network. And I think being here really showed me that it can almost be more valuable to be in a local newsroom, and you, as just one person, can do so much more in a small newsroom, in a community.
And it's been wonderful because we've worked together a long time to see you progress from that editor to that producer, to the 6 o'clock producer, to the executive producer, and then to this. What has that journey been like for you?
Totally crazy and entirely unexpected. Like I said, I just never really thought I would stay here. And then when I decided to, I kind of thought the same thing. Like, I'll do this a couple years, then I'll go somewhere else. A lot of times in this industry, people use markets like Knoxville. We're like market 60. New York is number 1, and some really small town is number 200. And I thought, okay, markets like Knoxville are kind of a stepping stone, right? Like, I'll go somewhere else. I'll kind of have bigger aspirations. And I think a lot of people will tell you Knoxville, it's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. A lot of time you just sort of stay and then never really want to leave. People just sort of make a home here. And that's what I ended up doing.
I think you're spot on, because so often when people ask about Knoxville, I say it's comfortable. Not in a complacent way, but in a comfortable way.
It's just a great place to live.
It is.
Really at like any stage of your life. I mean, I was a college student here. I was a recent graduate here. Now I'm like, grown up here, and it just feels like a great place no matter kind of what stage you're in.
You could tell a lot of stories having been in this newsroom for so long, for so many years. But is there a pivotal moment? Is there a story? Is there some experience in your tenure here that stands out among the others, that taught you or that solidified the reason this is why I am here, this is why I do what I do, this is what I do, and it's important to my community?
I think there are several things. The year 2016 was a huge year for me. I can't believe it's been 10 years since that year. But there were a bunch of stories that year and some kind of internal things that were really huge. One, we had a horrible helicopter crash in Sevier County. And it was like a sightseeing helicopter. It was a family from out of town. It was just like so sad. And we hear a lot of horrible things and see a lot of horrible things, but for some reason, the 911 calls from that helicopter crash really stick with me. I'm not going to get into the details because it is a lot, but that was a point at which I was like, wow, this is like real kind of like front lines stuff. And then two, I think everybody remembers the Sevier County wildfires happened in 2016. We're talking about our 10-year coverage for that.
And what role were you in at that time?
I was a producer. I was the 6 o'clock producer. And I actually was off when the fires started, the night that the fires like really took off. And I remember being in the Tri-Cities watching their news, because that was before we streamed our newscasts, and being like, something horrible is happening, but like it's so hard to understand like the scale at that point. And the next morning at like 7 o'clock, I woke up to a phone call from our news director at the time, and she was just like, I know you're on vacation, but I know that you're an hour and a half away. Can you come back? And like without hesitation, I did. And the next like 3 or 4 days are kind of a blur. I spent a ton of time in the control room with other producers, and it was just kind of a nonstop grind. Because
it was nonstop coverage. This was something that we were not pulling our foot off the gas pedal by any means, because it was happening moment by moment.
I think we were on air for like 18 straight hours or something crazy. I mean, you were in Gatlinburg with Todd and John, and I remember Moira came back to anchor at the desk, which I just thought was like so incredible, because it showed me, I think, one, how much our work genuinely matters to people in the community, and two, how much we as like a Channel 10 family come back together. I mean, I cannot think of a single other station where a retired anchor would come back to like sit on the news desk and just be there in case something goes wrong while every anchor is out in the field. I mean, that's crazy. But Moira did it, and to my understanding, I think she did it without hesitation. She just wanted to help. And so I think that's just, I think the wildfires really just that year sticks out to me as like, it finalized my decision, I think.
This is it. It's anxiety producing just listening, to recount that exactly.
I'm like, oh God.
And a lot of what we do produces a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of pressure in this ever-changing world of local journalism in general. How do you decompress?
I love to garden. We talk a lot about gardening.
Yes, we do.
And I have had days where I come home from work, I like have dinner, and then I just sort of go sit in the backyard and I pull weeds. And like
therapy, call it therapy.
Your brain just empties out when you're doing that. I love to do that. I also love trash reality TV.
Okay, favorite trash reality TV show.
Well, right now it's Love Island, because Love Island is on in the summer.
Maddie, wasn't that yours too?
Maddie and I discussed.
Yes. Maddie, our producer over there. Okay, so whatever it takes, right?
Yeah,
pick out the weeds, watch trash TV,
A little bit of everything.
and travel. I know you're a travel bug.
I do love to travel.
Favorite place you've traveled to? I'm going to interject there.
I think Scotland. I went to Scotland maybe like 3-4 years ago with my best friend, and we did a road trip through the Highlands, and I did not drive, but she drove on the wrong side of the road, which I was very impressed by. And we had an absolute blast. It's totally beautiful. We got very lucky and had amazing weather. It was not crowded. It was so cool.
Okay, when you have visitors to East Tennessee who've never been here before, where is the go-to place?
Great question. I think that my go-to place is 00 Wine Bar in Happy Holler.
Love it.
It's great. The food's great. The wine is always great, but their wine is really great. And I think it's a very Knoxville establishment.
I'm going to pull it back to journalism real quickly, just because that's what we do. It always comes back to this. Why is it so important that people tune in and be aware of what's going on in their community? We do local news. Why? I always argue to people, and you tell me what you think. It's more important to know what's going on locally than it is. It's important to know what's going on around the world, no doubt, in our nation's capital, absolutely. But day to day, it's so important, isn't it, to know what's going on in your neighborhood, your town?
Yeah, I think that's the reason that a lot of people don't want to watch the news these days, is they're like, I don't want to hear about whatever's happening in Washington. I don't really care about what's going on, across the world. I don't want to hear the bad stuff, whatever. But I think the stories that we do every day are not just, the big stuff that you hear on NBC. It's stuff like the mayor wants to add sidewalks, or, a small business. This morning we reported on a restaurant at the Choteau Marina caught fire and is just destroyed. A small business needs help. Those are the kinds of stories that really make up the huge majority of our newscast. And they're your neighbors. They're the people you run into in the grocery store and who go to church with you and everything else. And I think that's the thing about local news that I think people can often forget, is this is just about you. It's about your community. It's not about some big agenda that's outside of here that won't touch us for 10 years. It's about supporting each other, which is a very East Tennessee kind of cultural tenet.
I could not agree more. And, we live by a brand, if you will, here at WBIR, Straight from the Heart. And I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What does it mean to you?
I think that my understanding of Straight from the Heart has really changed over the years. I think when I started, I was like, okay, we have a heart in the logo, Straight from the Heart. We do, dog stories sometimes, like light stuff. And now I've thought about it more, and I really think that Straight from the Heart applies to everything we do. Whether that's like a nice story about a dog getting adopted from the animal shelter, which we do still love, or it's a hard news investigative story. To me, I think it means that we approach everything we do as kind of people first. We approach things from our hearts, and that means that we hold people accountable. That means that we try to be as transparent about anything that we can be. We try to really show the emotion of a story, good or bad. I think that it's a really tough thing to describe to people when they first start, because it does mean something a little bit different to all of us. But I also think that it manifests in the way that we treat each other inside this building, and the way that we support our own little community here.
Amen. Amen. Okay. I'm going to be wrapping it up. We've been given the liberty to ask one wild card question, but I've got two for you because you're extra special.
Oh, thank you.
First wild card. Who's your favorite anchor, Robin Wilhoit or John Becker?
John Becker's, first of all, never going to watch this. And second of all, obviously, I do have a photo on my phone of you holding John Becker in a headlock at some point.
It happened.
So
happened.
I would be dumb not to say it's Robin Wilhoit.
Thank you, Annie. Last wild card question, and this actually is not from me. It's from one of your dear colleagues who resides in the corner office. News director,
guest submission.
News director, Corey Presley, who you work very closely with. Corey wants to know why he is the best news director you've ever worked with.
Why did I
And there's
know
silence.
that? I knew I was going to get cornered in this way somehow.
I'm sorry.
I hate to admit it because I do know that Corey will watch
He
this
will.
just to lord this over me. But Corey is a great news director. He's a great partner in all of this. He is also from Tennessee, although he's not from East Tennessee. He's from Middle Tennessee, but
Yeah.
we've accepted him anyway.
Yeah.
He's a great partner, and he really understands this community. I think he gets us, which, I think, like I said when I was kind of describing straight from the heart, that's tough to make sure that you get a leader who walks in the door and understands us. And I don't think that he did on day one, but I think he's figured it out. And I think that he really has the best interests of the station at heart in everything he does. And he's always got my back. And I would not want to do this with anybody else. We joke about that, but yeah.
Yeah. It's team.
I really hate that I've been forced to admit this on camera, though. And you will pay.
It will live in perpetuity, and we will be hearing about this over and over. But
he's gonna get
that
for sure.
I think he's going to like the answer, and I think he would say the exact same thing about you. We're lucky to have you on our team. Annie Carr, thank you.